In this video, we're going to cover understanding how to use an essential oil safety data guide. We're going to cover over how we approach precaution measures and client care measures as a practitioner. We're going to look at what the client history form is and does and the modification table that accompanies it so that you're understanding the purpose of transference of information. We're also going to cover photosensitivity, nut allergies, carrier oils, infectious diseases, contraindications, and pregnancy. But in aromatherapy literature, certain oils are considered to have potential contraindications. Gary Young taught that the Young Living oils were safe in all situations because of their level of quality and purity. However, let's say you were working on a pregnant person and they were about to miscarry. If you happen to use some oils that were contraindicated for pregnancy, the finger could be pointed at you, regardless of whether the oil actually caused the problem. Australia is one of the most litigious countries, so every modality has insurance claims made against it. Now, we know it's rare, but if it were to happen to you, we would want you and Raindrop Technique to be covered and not seen to be the cause. That's why we teach you best safety practices. As far as we know, we are the only organisation who teaches this type of safety data for Raindrop Technique. And you will learn more about the application of it over your practical training weekend. But at the bottom of this video, check in the lesson box for a download, an electronic digital download of the safety data so that you can familiarise yourself with it. Now I want to talk about precautions. We have attached for you at the bottom of the video a what to expect document. And the reason that we've given you that is this is a courtesy measure that you would take as a practitioner to email to one of your clients to let them know what to expect from the treatment with you. We also have put in place very strict client care measures. We've got a client history form and a modification form that we assess people with to ensure best safe practices. So some of the precautions that we would consider would be if we were working on a child, we might need to use less oils than we would normally use. If we were working on a pregnant woman, there may be a contraindicated oil that we can't use on her. We need to know what that is. Or if someone, say, is a contract sprayer for the council and he sprays chemicals all day, we may need to modify in a situation for a person who's got that occupation. These are client care measures and precautions that we take to ensure those best safe practices. Now, we have a methodology for doing that is part of our client history and modification tables to the end of the video so that you can have a look over them and understand what it is that your client history and your modification actually involves. So the client history is very simple to understand. It's a basic one column of safety questions and things pertaining to the answers with relation to those safety questions. The second column is about specific conditions that a person may have had throughout their life. And the third column is to assess their chemical exposure throughout their lifetime. So what you're doing is you're getting a snapshot of what are some physical ailments that I may or may not have, where is my health at right now with the safety questions, what are the physical ailments I may have carried over the years, and what is my chemical exposure. Those three things make up the client history form. The modification table is taking that information and translating it across so that you can identify what oils you may need to avoid or use with caution and any particular back or massage moves that you may need to modify from the technique. Now, again, I'm giving you these forms to familiarise yourself with because we will do a practical application of client history and modification over your practical training weekend so that you have an opportunity to ask lots of questions. So please feel free to write down any that you are unsure of. All right, now while we're talking about safety, I want to address photosensitivity with you. If you were to have a look into the safety data guide, the electronic guide that you were given a link to, you will find a code for photosensitivity. It'll be either pH plus or pH. And next to where that code is written, it tells you what to do. And that's to avoid exposure to the sun for 48 hours and up to 72 hours on a pH plus code. And the pH code is avoid direct sunlight exposure for 12 to 24 hours. Now, I want you to understand that it's usually citrus oils or blends containing citrus oils that are photosensitive. There are a few other oils like angelica and ginger. When these oils are put on the skin becomes more sensitive to UV light. And for a period of from, say, 12 to 24 and right up to 72 hours, if that is exposed to direct sunlight or UV light, say through a beauty salon or under sterilization lamps or something, skin can actually turn a dark color in that patch. It's like it changes the pigment, and it takes several months to grow out, and it damages the skin. So it can even trigger severe dermatitis. And so I want you to look at these codes, and also we've supplied a photosensitivity chart for you. I want you to print that off and fill it in using the safety data guide. Look for the pH plus and the pH codes and identify them on your chart. And I'd like you to, as part of an assessment, laminate that and have it brought with you for your practical training session. Because it's great to know these oils and be familiar with them. Nut allergies and carrier oils. So with nut allergies, people will generally know if they're anaphylactic and what particular seeds and nuts will set them off and whether it's oils or not. So it is always handy, because you don't know who your client is going to be that walks through the door. It's always handy to have some plain vegetable oils. It can be olive, it can be safflower, it can be hemp, it can be fractionated coconut, it can be any single safe carrier oil. But if your client is not adverse to oils, we thoroughly recommend Young Living's V6 vegetable oil, because it's just so perfectly blended and it's just so lovely and light, and it doesn't place a heavy amount of oil in your towels, and it doesn't stain your towels, the plain V6 vegetable oil. And even though I personally promote hemp as a beautiful carrier oil, if you've got white massage towels, it's going to, or light coloured massage towels, it's going to leave a green tinge on them if it's good quality hemp oil. But I am prepared to deal with that as a practitioner myself, because I really love how nourishing hemp feels on the skin. It's not as light as, say, plain fractionated coconut oil, and it's not as heavy as olive oil. It's somewhere in between, and on the skin, that just feels amazing to me. So I am a huge advocate for it. However, from a professional practice perspective, V6, when performing raindrop in particular, is just phenomenally brilliant if you have to extinguish heat from oregano oil or thyme oil or basil oil. But nut allergies are important. V6 contains 8 different nut and seed and vegetable oils, so you have to check to make sure that no contraindicated oils for a person's allergy are in the V6 oil. And yeah, always have some on hand in your clinic. Experiment with the oils, guys. Have a look at the different types and how they feel on your own skin when you're practicing, because it makes a difference. It definitely does. Your body will draw different things from it at different times. All right, onto the comes to infectious diseases. Basic first aid training is an incredibly important skill to have if you're going to be a practitioner of any description. When you are working with aromatherapy and massage components, there are some very basic first aid training skills that are important for you to have and understand. Now, I personally recommend your local St. John's Ambulance Training Services. Those guys just really know their stuff. And in relation to COVID-19, we've seen unprecedented change in how we're allowed to conduct business now. So with social distancing in place and masks and gloves readily available, if it is something that you feel more comfortable with, especially if someone's coming to you and they're saying, oh, look, I've got a bit of a flu, I would encourage you to wear that PPE. Now, it is a personal decision, and you have to consider also what your insurance company might request of you. There are new rules and regulations around insurance and covering having people made sure in a professional workplace that they're covered up and not exposing anyone that comes to see them, because ultimately you'll be in contact at a very personal level when applying essential oils and massaging them in, and potentially more than one person a day. So these factors and considerations have to really be looked at, and we've given you the link for the General Industry Safe Work Australia model for how to handle COVID-19. And what I'd like you to do is put together a one-page risk assessment or business plan on how your business, how your clinic is going to manage that risk. It might be a flow chart of client comes in, fills in assessment sheet, discussion of gloves and mask, what would they prefer, because some people want human touch. And if they've been at no risk of COVID, then, you don't have to wear gloves because it is a massage situation. However, some people may insist that you do. And so be sure of what your insurance company is saying, and consider those PPE measures for yourself. Now, the other thing is chemical exposure falls right up there with infectious diseases. If you've been working on someone who's been getting chemo, you have to wait 10 days before you can conduct a raindrop treatment on them. And that's because they are still toxic. That 10-day period, that chemo radiation is oozing out of every pore in their skin because it's our largest detoxification organ. So you don't want to be touching someone before that 10-day period. And if for some reason you did, then I would encourage gloves in that situation to create separation, so you're not actually touching their skin. There's also the factor of an AIDS patient that needs to be considered. And AIDS patients have been often treated with a lot of judgment and contempt. And so if you're not comfortable working on someone who has AIDS from the perspective of you would prefer to wear gloves, you need to let them know as a professional courtesy and respect. Because, again, people come for a raindrop, people come for massage, people come for treatments, they're natural therapeutic treatments, because they want to self-care, they want help in being nurtured and the body being, nurtured and touched. And so there needs to be that consideration that, if you notice a cut on their back, you may want to put gloves on, but you need to have the conversation with them as a professional courtesy and respect, so that they have the choice to say no if you're uncomfortable. If you say, I want to wear gloves because you've picked your HIV positive and I just feel better, just in case, I scratch you with my fingernail or something to that effect, they may choose to say no. And we need to be okay with that. We need to be respectful of whatever it is that they decide in that process. Now, a word on contraindications. I want you guys to research the codes in your essential oil safety data booklet so that you can familiarize yourself with the different types of contraindications. You will see things where there is a code that relates to someone who is on blood thinning medication. You will see that there are codes relating to people who are on high blood pressure medication or have high blood pressure. You will see that there's contraindications for age groups of people. You will see that there are codes pertaining to contraindications regarding pregnant women. So I want you to familiarise yourself. It's not necessary to memorise it all, because at your practical training we go in depth and show you the application of contraindications to your client history form and your modification table. That's the skill set we give you in person, so that there's no room for confusion and all questions can be answered on the day. So those contraindications, familiarise yourself with them. You will get your Raindrop Practitioner textbook at your practical training, and it gives you an in-depth breakdown of your forms and how to modify in case you feel that you have forgotten something after your practical training. We are also able to answer any questions that you're unsure of to help you consistently keep up with your student case studies and working on volunteers. So research your textbook further after your practical training, and write all of your questions down if you have any, so that we can address those specific needs at your practical training. Now let's talk about pregnancy. Pregnancy is a specific release and indemnity form. We'll be given that at your practical training. It must be filled in by your client at every Raindrop session. Extra pillows for support are important to ensure comfort for both mother and baby. And a lot of people ask us, is it safe? Absolutely. It's beautifully relaxing for the mum and the spine, and the pressure that, sharing your body with another human being can place on it. It's just lovely and relaxing. But there are specific protocols and modifications that take place, and you cannot ramp up before 15 weeks. There is all come from you as a practitioner that ensures they're expecting mothers, if they are having any doubts, to just check in with their obstetrician or their midwife. Give them the what to expect release and indemnity form, and let them ask those questions if they have any reservations whatsoever. Go over the issues around pregnancy and how to fill in those forms diligently, so that all considerations and best safe practices are met.